90th anniversary of Antioch Missionary Baptist Church. It was constituted on April the 10th, 1927 in the Midville Schoolhouse, which was located just a short distance down Shiloh Church Road. This took place at the invitation of several brothers and sisters of this community who saw the need for a missionary Baptist church in Buncombe. A number of ordained ministers of the gospel, which was 5 total, met at the school for the purpose of constituting same. Those 5 ordained ministers formed, which was known as Presbytery. Reverend P.P. Johnson, or Preacher Pete as he was known, gave the reason for the organization and presented the presbytery with 15 church letters from Kansas Baptist Church. After hearing Preacher Pete, the presbytery accepted the need and qualification for a church. They then extended an invitation to those who wanted to join the group with a promise of a letter from Kansas, and an additional 10 came forward with a promise of a letter. A total of 25, all coming from our mother church, which is Kansas Baptist Church right down the road in Carroll County. Those charter members were Buey and Mildred Johnson, William and Clara Johnson, Brad and Marvell Johnson, Phillips, John D. Robinson and his wife Ella, Bartow Smith and his daughters Maudie and Vira, Mr. A.B. Smith, Mr. George Wheeler and his wife Martha, L.D. Wilson and his wife Minnie Lee Wilson, W.J. West and his wife Minnie L. West, and Mr. West was the building chairman. And the land that the church and the cemeteries are on today was donated by Buey and Mildred. Reverend P.P. Johnson and his wife Winnie Fordham Johnson and their son Vester, along with their daughter and son-in-law Mabel and Reedy Bear, and Rufus Johnson and his wife Bezetta. At the suggestion of Preacher Pete, the church was named Antioch, where according to the scriptures and Acts, they were first called Christians. The first conference was held on April the 26th, 27, by Dr. A.G. Stiles, who was Diane Clayton's grandfather, as moderator pro tem. Reverend J.W. King from Ville Baptist Church was called as our first pastor. Services were held every 4th Saturday and Sunday of each month. The first all-day singing was held on the 2nd Sunday in July. Then it was moved to the 3rd Sunday in September, where it continued for many years until we agreed to host the Haralson County Spring Singing Convention, which is now held on the 3rd Sunday in March. Not many days following the constitution of the church, the men began cutting hardwood logs to make lumber for the church house. With the church's cotton patches, donations, women selling chickens, butter, and eggs, and bringing the noonday meal to the working men at the building site, they all had a part in this labor of love. Because of the spirit of cooperation and God's blessings, the building was ready for the first service in the new church on March the 10th, 1928. According to Miss Mildred, that March the 10th was a happy and thankful day for Antioch members, and the first revival in the new church was held the 4th week of July, and that has continued that week every year since. Mildred indicated in her book and also in our directory that during those times the church could not hold all the people, those saints and sinners. Any given night of revival in those days, people would be standing in open windows and doors. All the churches visited each other at revival time. There were 6 new converts that first revival. They were Leona Wheeler, John Ellis, Hez Ellis, John Smith, Doc Wright, and his wife Susie. They were baptized in a small dammed-up creek on Mac Smith's farm. There have been many baptisms at Antioch, sometimes only one, then as many as 22. The benches were made from 1x2 dress boards, and the floors were bare. A wood heater heated the church, and kerosene lamps provided the lighting. In the 40s, electric lights were installed, and services continued or gradually went from one weekend a month to full time. Sunday school was organized in 1928. New Sunday school rooms were added on to the church in 1968, and the Baptist Youth People Union and training unions were organized in 1930. WMU began around 1970, and the first interment in the cemetery was the 17-month-old son of Reverend and Mrs. Pete Johnson in October of 30. In the mid-late 60s, the church was bricked, central heat and air was installed, as well as new pews and carpet. In the last few years, the sanctuary has been repainted, new carpet, new lighting installed, new pews, new pulpit, new choir chairs, handicap ramp and railing were added on the east side of the church, a brick base and new flagpole, baby grand piano was purchased, fencing along the road, and a new sound system. During the storms this week, I was reminded of a story that Diane shared and I've heard over the years about when lightning struck the church. The ladies pulled out their quilts and gave them to the men to soak and throw on top of the church to put out the fire. When I thought about that, I thought, what a prized possession. I have quilts today, but they're hung up as a display. They were a necessity during those days, but what a sacrifice they made. I just wonder how far they had to go to get water to soak those quilts and put on the church. Antioch's been blessed with many wonderful pastors. Brother King, J.W. King, served 2 terms from 27 to 31, 33 to 34. Reverend R.L. Caldwell served from 31 to 33. Reverend Herman Barra served 2 terms from 34 to 36 and 50 to 51.
Nancy, I'm sorry to interrupt, but a lot of people, the younger people, may not realize that back in those days it was a term that lasted so long. Now, it's the pastor and, however long they feel led to.
Exactly. Reverend R.L. Bates served from 36 to 39. Rufus Johnson from 39 to 45. Reverend Pete Johnson from 45 to 48. Reverend A.C. Hollis from 48 to 50. Reverend Roy King from 51 to 55. Reverend Arcus Adams from 55 to 58. Reverend T.R. Chafin from 58 to 60. Reverend Jesse Robinson from 60 to 62. Reverend Levi Patterson from 62 to 65. Reverend R.L. Coach Caswell from 65 to 71. Reverend Bob Adams from 71 to 77. Reverend Roscoe Hayes from 77 to 80. Reverend Don Butler from 1980 to 1982. Reverend Sam Seth from 82 to 84. Reverend S.T. Skaggs served as interim from 84 to 85. Reverend Frank Barker from 85 to 86. Reverend Mike Benefield from 86 to 89. Reverend T.J. Morgan from 89 to 93. And Reverend Tommy McGuire served 2 terms from 94 to 2001, 2009 to 2015. And Brother Tommy has served at Antioch longer than any other pastor, approximately 13 years. Reverend David Guillen from 2002 to 2009. Reverend James Benefield is interim from 2015 to 16. And Reverend Kevin McAdams from 2016 to the present. Antioch has been blessed beyond words with godly deacons who lead the church in the right direction by following the Lord's lead. We have been blessed with wonderful musicians since the beginning, with Mildred Stiles Johnson, who served as the first organist pianist for 60 plus years. And she set the bar high, and it continues today with our many talented musicians. Antioch has had and continues to have some amazing prayer warriors, as well as faithful members who are here week after week, year after year. There are no big I's or little U's at Antioch. It takes each and every one of us to make Antioch exactly what the Lord would have us to be. And He's working on us and through us, just as He did those original 25 charter members 90 years ago. At this time, I would like to ask the descendants of the charter members to please stand